Have you ever wondered what were Michael, Trevor and Franklin doing before GTA 5? Well, I did, and I did some digging, and the lore and backstory surrounding them was actually more detailed and interesting than I ever thought it would be. How did Franklin meet Lamar? How did Trevor meet Michael for the first time? All of these details will be revealed in today's video. Let's start off with Michael Townley, not DeSanta as he's later known in 2013. He wasn't always living the life of luxury, quite the opposite in fact. Michael was born around 1965 or 1968 in the Midwest, grew up far from the comfort and privilege that his children would later enjoy. Raised in a trailer park, his childhood was shaped by poverty and hardship. His father was an alcoholic and abusive, eventually abandoning the family. Michael's mother also left him behind, offering a range of vague explanations for his father's disappearance, claiming he either skipped town, was hit by a train, or even joined the Navy. Despite these challenges, Michael showed promise as a high school quarterback, earning recognition for his talent and occasionally landing his photo in the local newspaper. However, his future in sports was cut short due to a combination of injuries and his volatile temper. Trevor also mentions the Midwest several times, leading us to believe that this was very likely close to North Yankton, if not within North Yankton itself. As a young adult, Michael began a life of crime. According to himself, he was imprisoned twice by the time he was 20. While in prison, he learned many skills, including how to use a tattoo gun by tattooing his name on his cellmate's buttocks. He committed his first robbery in 1988, where he managed to steal $10,000 from a small business on the outskirts of Carcer City.
Bro, what was your first bank score?
88, outskirts of Carcer City. Took a small franchise for 10G. Yeah, things were easier back then.
Yeah, 25 years ago. Jesus!
It's during this period where he associated himself with Lester Crest, which as we all know is the heist planner and mastermind in many of the heists in GTA 5. So how did Michael come to meet Trevor for the first time? Before we talk about that, let's quickly give a backstory on Trevor. Trevor's background is largely speculative and comes from his own stories, many of which are exaggerated or inconsistent. He was born and raised in Canada near the US border. He claims to have grown up across multiple states and countries, living in 14 homes, 3 care facilities, and 2 correctional institutions with 8 fathers, and a complex relationship with his beautiful, damaged mother, as he claims. From a young age, Trevor exhibited violent tendencies and struggled to fit into society. He claims that during a rage-fueled episode, he sodomized his hockey coach with a hockey stick and strangled a clarinet player with their own instrument. His father eventually abandoned him in a shopping mall, prompting Trevor to burn the mall down in retaliation. Trevor also had a brother named Ryan, believe it or not, with whom he had a strained relationship. Ryan died in a, quote, accident sometime before 2013. He also claims to have been the Canadian under-18 champion in hockey and came close to turning professional, but obviously things went wrong. Later in life, Trevor discovered a natural talent for flying jets and enlisted in the Air Force to become a fighter pilot. However, just days before completing his training, he was discharged after a psychological evaluation deemed him mentally unstable. It's implied that his difficult relationship with his mother maybe played a part in this disqualification.
Wait, you were saying what he could do. He couldn't throw, and his coach had a stick accident like I had once.
Right. But he could fly planes, this kid. So he signed up to the Air Force to fly all day long and bomb villages and maybe, just maybe, drop the nuke. And it was all going well until one day, just before he got his wings, an evil witch in charge of psychological evaluations told him he was unstable. Grounded him for life.
That's terrible.
It was! Sent him into a deep pit of doubt and despair.
So after leaving the military, Trevor became a drifter, committing petty crimes across the US, and without clear direction, by the late 1980s, around the age of 20, he started running a small air freight business in North Yankton. This is where he eventually met Michael Townley. So let's track back to how exactly Michael and Trevor met. Michael first met Trevor Phillips while smuggling cargo across the border. As Trevor waited for his unknown contact, he noticed 2 dust trails on the road, even though he only expected to be meeting one person. Michael stepped out of the first vehicle, while an older civilian emerged from the second. It turned out that Michael had carjacked the man, and in an attempt to make a quick getaway, sped towards where he was supposed to meet Trevor. As the civilian tried to alert Trevor as to what had happened, Trevor responded by brutally killing the man with a flare gun, shooting him directly in his eye.
I get close to the old guy and I pull out this flare gun I'm carrying around, squeeze the thing off in his eye. Shit. It was horrible. We had to pick up the body and dump it in a lake on the way. Thing was still burning in his head when we dropped him. Plane never smelt the same. Both of us threw up when we landed. It was quite a baptism.
You ain't never clapped nobody before?
Not really. Some deer, foxes, drifters. Nothing serious.
Recognizing how well they worked together despite the grisly incident, Michael took Trevor under his wing, and the two became partners in various crimes. Although they had some success, their criminal careers were fraught with difficulties.
How about you? Why don't you share with the group? I'm here. I'll back the facts.
That checks cash place? I went in, took him for $8 grand, walked out.
Yeah. It was a bit more complicated than that, though, wasn't it, T?
Maybe I knew the guy. Maybe he ID'd me.
Maybe you did 6 months.
Maybe I was out in 4, and that, children, is why we don't leave witnesses.
That, children, is why you don't rob people that you know.
But this is where things all started to go wrong, where in 1991, Michael, Trevor, and another associate visited a strip club, where Michael met a stripper named Amanda, who went by the alias Crystal. However, she soon took a liking to Michael, and the two began a romantic relationship. Michael used money from his criminal activities to buy Amanda breast implants. This investment actually led to Michael establishing his own ring for women of the night.
You always liked fakeness.
So you keep telling me.
And, you know something else?
I get the feeling I'm about to.
Uh-huh. That's why you married a stripper. You like people who do things for money. No offense. I mean, to you or the lovely Amanda.
Oh, none taken.
A few months into their relationship, Michael and Amanda married, eventually having 2 children, Tracy and Jimmy. They lived together in a trailer park in the Midwest. As Michael's family grew, his priorities began to shift, and he started questioning the dangerous criminal lifestyle he was leading. Trevor, however, saw these changes as a sign of weakness, and this is where things really began to fall apart.
And they lived happily ever after?
For a while. Until the troll met another troll in a strip club, and they fell in lust, and he bought her a pair of fake troll tits, even bigger than his real troll tits, so she could make more money stripping, and maybe a little on the side without call work, but you didn't hear that from me. Wow. And then she pushed out a pair of little trolls, and the big bad troll under the bridge went soft.
Hold on, what?
So little Trevor made a new friend called Brad, and he was thinking about cutting Mike off when it all went to shit, and Mike got killed and Brad went to jail.
Did all the names just change, or am I missing something?
Shut up! I miss the old days. Good times. Watching you shake it.
I miss every girl calling you the one-pump chump.
Still stripping so much, Amanda?
Still masturbating so much, Trevor?
Are those lips fake as well, or just the tits?
How's your mom, Trevor? I miss her.
This is where Trevor met a fellow crook named Brad Snyder, Brad being the guy who got shot instead of Michael in the prologue. But what you might not have known is that Michael and Brad never showed empathy for one another, and often expressed mutual distaste and distrust when working together. They didn't like one another, and by the sounds of it, Trevor kind of agrees, and so does Lester Crest.
Obvious? Bustin' Brad out of the clink.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there, T. Some things are just better left alone.
Brad's not a thing. He's part of the crew.
Well, a crew's more than a sum of its parts, and he was a pretty shit part.
He is a pretty shit part, and that's only 'cause he's in jail.
No, he is shit because he's lazy, forgetful, mean, and stupid, with respect.
He's changed, all right? He writes now, emails. He's educated himself inside, and he'll be a valuable part of the team.
Why don't you talk to Michael about it?
Kinda.
Brad was a dick, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He was. Bless him. Really, if I'm completely honest with you, Brad was a bit of a dick.
The dude who got killed?
Yeah, I mean, would I have done it one day? Maybe. Probably. But probably likely. Wouldn't have done it in such an underhanded fashion, and the authorities wouldn't have been involved, but yeah, bit of a dick.
So all this is over a guy neither of you really like.
Well, the principle was the thing, and well, I'm anything. I'm a man of principles.
So, in 2004, Michael made a secret deal with a corrupt FIB agent named Dave Norton. The agreement involved cutting ties with Trevor and Brad in exchange for a fresh start. Michael promised Norton a monthly 5-figure payout, and in return, Norton would relocate Michael and his family to Los Santos, providing them with new identities. This may sound very similar to the witness protection.
Listen, Amanda, we're going to move to Los Santos, start over. I made a deal. The slate will be totally wiped clean.
All right, everybody pays attention. No one gets hurt.
Trust me, darling. Look at me. Amanda, it was the only thing I could do. Either everyone dies or one guy gets out. I'm that guy.
Slow and steady, T. Slow and steady.
His name is Dave Norton. Nice guy, realist. He gets the glory, I get out. It's not even a decision. Amanda, I don't have a choice. Do you want to die here where it's always snowing? Or do you want to go and live where it's always sunny?
All right, you want to live? Tell me you want to live. Work this out.
Trust me, nothing is gonna go wrong. Nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. We gotta follow the plan. Everything will work out.
I did.
Brad's body was buried in Michael's grave, while Michael watched his own funeral from afar. But as his family life crumbled in Los Santos, Michael entered a midlife crisis, seeking therapy from Dr. Isaiah Friedlander, an overpriced psychologist who was largely indifferent to Michael's issues. In 2012, Wade Herbert and his friends Daisy Bell, Kush Chronic, and several other juggalos were en route to The Gathering, a massive festival where they made a stop in Sandy Shores to buy drugs. There, they crossed paths with Trevor Phillips, who immediately took an unsettling interest in them. After a brief encounter, Trevor convinced Wade's friends to follow him to a nearby quarry, where they mysteriously disappeared. While Wade waited for his friends to return, he remained blissfully unaware of what had happened, and Trevor never outright revealed their fate. However, it was heavily implied that Trevor brutally murdered them at the quarry.
Hey, you remember when we met?
Sure. Last year, I was on the way to the gathering with Daisy Bell and Kush Chronic
And you stopped in Sandy Shores to get lit, and you met a dealer, and he looked after you when your friends had abandoned you.
That was weird, weren't it? The last time I saw them, they was with you, driving out to the quarry, and then they just disappeared.
Poof, right? I mean, they were gone. Some friends, right? And now Cousin Deborah don't want you around. I mean, there's a pattern here.
The Congo did get me.
So Trevor allowed Wade to stick around, seeing potential in the young man's loyalty and gullibility. Wade, oblivious to the gruesome reality, began working for Trevor and eventually became part of Trevor's small-time criminal operation in Sandy Shores. This is where Trevor and Ron were working together. So we've discussed Michael and Trevor, but of course the last remaining character is Franklin. Franklin is interesting in this regard because, well, what do we actually know about Franklin before GTA 5? Franklin Clinton was born in South Los Santos, San Andreas in 1988, and he spent most of his life navigating through the streets of Los Santos. Raised in an environment steeped by gang culture, Franklin became a gangbanger at a young age, joining the Chamberlain gangster families alongside his best friend Lamar Davis. Together they committed small crimes to make a living, such as carjackings and petty thefts. Franklin, Lamar, and some of their friends then decided to split from Forum Drive, forming the independent Forum Gangsters. Franklin's early life, however, was fraught with hardship. He never knew his father, and his mother, a cocaine addict, struggled to care for him. Her addiction ultimately led to her death when Franklin was still a little boy. We can actually see a photo of what Franklin looked like when he was younger here. Following her death, Franklin was taken in by his maternal grandparents, but he still gravitated towards the streets, finding a sense of identity in hustling. It's around this time where Franklin became friends with Tonya Wiggins and J.B. Bradshaw. Franklin's first foray into crime was selling cigarettes with Bradshaw, a scheme that worked well until his grandmother caught him. After his grandparents passed away, Franklin moved in with his aunt Denise, inheriting a house on Forum Drive. He attended Davis High School with Lamar, Tanisha Jackson, and Tonya, but his temper got the better of him after he was expelled for assaulting a teacher. As he plunged deeper into gang life, he became a street dealer, a gangbanger, and committing various crimes with Lamar. And so, in 2013, Franklin's fortunes began to shift, where he and Lamar started working for Simeon Yetarian, an Armenian businessman who ran a shady car dealership. Under the guise of selling cars, Simeon used the dealership as a front for loan sharking and extortion. When clients inevitably defaulted on their loans, Franklin and Lamar were tasked with repossessing the cars, pulling them further into the criminal underworld. However, this is what ultimately led Franklin to meeting Michael, so you could say that it was either a good thing or a really bad thing.
Man, what about you and Frank?
Oh, hell no, homie. It ain't like that. We ain't like y'all. You know, niggas don't get down like that. I mean, one time we was both fucking this bitch and I was about to go in and we kind of like touched dicks, but it wasn't even like a slap or nothing. I mean, man, it was like almost like a brush, you know? I mean, that shit, it wasn't nothing, homie. It wasn't even like awkward or nothing, but don't tell nobody, though.
That's how you met Franklin. Brushing cocks in an orgy.
It wasn't no orgy. Fuck, man, that was a three-way. And nah, we ain't meet there. Nah, wait, that wasn't Frank. That was JB in a three-way. Frank ain't into that. And he smoked crack now. JB, I mean, not Frank. So there you go.
Actually, man, you know what? I don't care where you and JB met or you and Franklin.
It was at school, motherfucker. Davis High. Me and Frank was always tight. Lanky and fatty. We was slanging together, then we was banging together, then we back to slanging. But that's a young man game, you heard me?
Yeah, I heard you. But I don't really care.
What I found particularly interesting about this research was finding out about Michael and Trevor's past particularly, and how exactly the two came to meet. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as much as I did researching it and putting it all together. If you guys want to see more topics like this discussing characters in the GTA universe, then let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Adios.